In the meantime, our producers were up all night long. They put together a montage. Here you've got some of the feistiest exchanges between the seven on the stage last night out west. Watch.
We need to win elections. And part of how we win elections is reaching the next generation of young Americans where they are. So when I get into office, I've been very clear. Kids under the age of 16 should not be using addictive social media.
This is infuriating because TikTok is one of the most dangerous social media apps that we could have. And what you've got, I honestly, every time I hear you, I feel a little bit dumber for what you say.
Last debate, he said we were all bought and paid for. And I thought about that for a little while and said, you know, I can't imagine how you could say that knowing that you were just in business with the Chinese Communist Party and the same people that funded Hunter Biden millions of dollars was a partner of yours as well.
You know what I did with my first company? We opened a subsidiary in China. But you know what I did that was different than every other company? We got the hell out of there.
Ron DeSantis is against fracking. He's against drilling. He's been against. You did it. He always talks about what happens on day one. You better watch out because what happens on day two is when you're in trouble.
That's just wrong. And let's just get real here. My plan will get the job done.
Talk about someone who has never seen a federal dollar she doesn't like. 10 cents on the gallon in South Carolina. As the UN ambassador, you literally put $50,000 on curtains in a $15 million subsidized location. Next.
You got bad information. They were there before I even showed up at the residence.
And Lawrence, she was right.
What a way to really, yeah, I mean, bring it, Tim. I mean, that really tells you what the debate was about last night. There were a few debate moments that were big. I got to say, there was some policy talked about. Burgum, who I don't know a lot about, had some moments where I was like, you know what? Yeah. If it were a different time, this guy would have gotten more oxygen. But we're just in such a polarizing time right now. Donald Trump obviously takes up a lot of the oxygen. You got Ron DeSantis, who has his record as a governor. You got Nikki Haley, who is probably the foreign policy establishment candidate in the race. I think what we're going to see, and the RNC hasn't released what the rules are going to be for the next debate, but I think that it's going to be a coalescing. They're going to see Nikki Haley. They're probably going to see more Ron DeSantis. They're probably going to want to see Vivek Ramaswamy, who is the younger version of Donald Trump, hasn't endorsed the president but likes the former president. And I think more people just want the main character so they can figure out who's going to be the Trump alternative. But again, not enough time to really hear them dive into those specific policy points.
I think that's the point, Lawrence, because with 7 people on the stage last time, remember at this point, I think we had 2 stages. We had 1 and 2, about 14 people, so we're lucky to have 7 at this point, but it makes it really tough. And desperate candidates with so much on the line, and you know, obviously it's their goal, they're going to go out there, and they just kept talking. The thing that struck me, this is the time, sometimes you crosstalk, and then you have to pull back. Nobody was pulling back. Nope. They were just going on and on and on until it was deafening. And then you say to yourself,
to be the last one talking, right?
Right.
So
and then you say to yourself, am I screwing up by not jumping in here? But you saw one side of the stage not do that.
Did you notice how they went after each other? And I was doing some fact checking this morning to find out what was correct and what wasn't, because Christie said that Donald Trump, he only built 52 miles of the wall. And he said if Mexico, they might have paid for it if they had known it was only going to be 52 miles. And then Mike Pence said, no, I was there during that period. We built hundreds of miles of the border wall, and I negotiated the remain in Mexico. And then Nikki Haley was calling out DeSantis for being against fracking. And if you read articles, PolitiFact says when DeSantis ran in 2018, he did campaign on banning hydraulic fracking and oil drilling off of the coast of Florida. But he opposes fracking out there in the water off the coast, but not everywhere else. And he kept saying, that's not true. That's not true.
Right. And a couple of fact checks. The New York Times took that on. First off, you're right about the wall. So Chris Christie has to stop saying it. because 52 miles a new wall, but even the New York Times says it's 458 miles, including secondary barriers. He says much is replacement barriers, it's true, but there's no comparison between old railroad ties, which you step over, and 30-foot-high ballards. So I think that's a Democratic talking point that Chris Christie should drop on at this point, because it's just not true. And if you talk to the Border Patrol, they are so thankful to have the 30-foot barriers, and they look wistfully at the piles of metal that we paid for, that Joe Biden is selling off.
Did you read anything about, is it true that Trump added $7 trillion in national debt? Chris Christie kept saying that.
It's a little bit more.
True.
It is a little bit more, but it's also kind of crazy to add in the pandemic money when you told for the first time in history the country to stop working, and we will pay you not to work.
So that was a real outlier.
Yeah,
it was indeed.
And Joe Biden has just over $5 trillion already, and no pandemic, and a recovering economy, and a vaccine.
Right. And one of the other things, one policy, when we look at the polls, the number one issue with everybody in the United States seems to be the economy, inflation, stuff like that. And, you know, Bidenomics should have been a punching bag last night. It should have been a piñata. And for the most part,
not a lot of talk about
No,
it.
there was not a lot of talk about the economy. And I'm sure they're popping champagne corks at the White House. It's like, well, Bidenomics, we got a pass last night. And in fact, I read some of the comments that Mark Penn made. He had been Hillary Clinton's pollster over on FoxNews.com, and he said they got a pass. They did well. The winner was Joe Biden, some have said, on the political left. But when it comes to something that we didn't see in the first debate that we saw last night, was the 7 on stage last night actually went after, a couple of them did, went after Donald Trump. And that is one of the things that we've seen Chris Christie do, but we haven't seen Ron DeSantis do it. His donors, his backers, have been pushing him to do it. Here are the two governors, DeSantis and Christie. Christie, of course, former in the great state of New Jersey, going after the former president of the United States.
Joe Biden, he's completely missing in action from leadership. And you know who else is missing in action? Donald Trump is missing in action. He should be on this stage tonight. He should be here explaining his comments to try to say that pro-life protections are somehow a terrible thing. I want him to look into the eyes and tell people who've been fighting this fight for a long time.
Donald Trump hides behind the walls of his golf clubs and won't show up here to answer questions like all the rest of us are up here to answer. He put $7 trillion on the debt. He should be in this room. Donald, I know you're watching. You can't help yourself. I know you're watching, okay? And you're not here tonight not because of polls and not because of your indictments. You're not here tonight because you're afraid of being on the stage and defending your record. You're ducking these things. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You keep doing that, no one up here is going to call you Donald Trump anymore. We're going to call you Donald Duck.
Yeah, that wasn't the best nickname.
That's definitely planned,
Donald Trump said this on True Social last night, to Fox News Digital, I should say. Anybody that would come up with the nickname, that nickname shouldn't be running for president. Donald Duck. And the president is the master at that.
The nicknames.
You know, and one of the things...
He gives that a thumbs down.
I don't think Donald Trump liked the Republicans on the stage criticizing him, because after the debate last night, Chris LaCivita, who is one of Trump's senior advisors, he called the RNC and said, you need to from the former president, we need to cancel further debates so the party can focus on attacking President Biden, not Donald Trump.
We'll see if he shows up in Alabama next.
Ron DeSantis actually challenged the former president on Sean Hannity's show last night after the debate to a one-on-one debate. And I thought that was interesting. I think people have been looking for that moment right there where Ron DeSantis would start to take Donald Trump on. Yeah. Obviously, they are the two leading candidates. The question is it too late? I mean, I would have expected him to do this months ago, because if he's the big elephant in the room, you should be going after him. If the other candidates aren't really relevant, that's what he should have done earlier.
Lawrence,
so, Brian, I just wonder if it's too late for that strategy. It was nice to see, but is it too late?
You got to have a balance. Chris Christie's a nonstop going after Trump, but you have to know that 7 out of every 10 people that you're talking to like Trump. They just have to like you better. So you don't have to leave Trump. You have to convince them that you're better than him. because you agree with probably 75% of what he did. I think it's a real tough subtlety. I think if you go out too hard, people go, okay, you're just one of the masses who's critical of Donald Trump. But if you say, I like what he did and here's what I would do better, that might be the strategy. And I think last night that looked like the old Ron DeSantis last night.
It is interesting to watch the debates. I wish Donald Trump had participated, but I feel like I'm watching the vice president debate. And I know they don't want to hear that. They all say, no, we're running for president. But I feel like we're just trying to choose who Donald Trump is going to pick and who's going to be best for our country. And they're waiting in the wings, hoping that all these court cases, something happens and he's not able to run and one of them will jump up and be able to do it. And the same thing with the Democratic Party. I'm watching Gavin Newsom on with Sean Hannity after the debate. He's there in California. He's sitting with Sean Hannity. Sean's asking him, are you going to run? Would you put your hat in there? And he's like, no, no, no. I feel like the same thing is happening on the Democratic Party, too. And how about at the end, Lawrence and Stephen Bryan, when Dana said, you have a piece of paper in front of you, write down the name of the candidate you want off this stage. And they all kind of agreed, we don't want to do this. We don't want to shoot within the tent. But then she said, I noticed you, Chris Christie, you wrote something on your paper. He goes, I'll tell you, I wrote Trump. I want him off the stage.
Yeah, but Ainsley, you're absolutely right. When you look at, given the fact that Donald Trump is so far ahead in the polls right now, it really, and you got Nikki and you've got Ron DeSantis and Tim Scott and everybody else kind of clumped up in the double digits. It's like it is, last night was a fight for second place.
Yeah. When is the next debate? Do we know?
Well, it's gonna be a while. Lawrence?
Next month in Alabama, I thought.
Okay.
Just to put a button on this, I think one thing that was missing from the debate last night, and I go back to 2016, is the focus on the forgotten men and women of this country. People shouldn't be afraid of Donald Trump. They should be afraid of the people that support him. This is what the candidates should be afraid of. And they have to win those people over. And those people don't feel like anyone in Washington or in state governments are fighting for them. So how do you win them over? Talk about the issues that matter to their hearts.
Right.
And I feel like the candidates had an opportunity to do that last night. They just didn't take advantage of that moment. They were so focused on each other that they forgot who the main audience was, which is the forgotten men and women of this country.
But Lawrence, what makes it worse is it looks like they're attacking the one guy that is going to bat for them with 4 indictments, 91 counts, and now personally and civilly. So you're making it work. Now you're making it personal. You're dismissing me as a voter, and then you're dismissing the one person who I thought had my views and had my back. So that's what's upping the anger level to a dangerous level.
And Lawrence, you didn't get any sleep last night because you were watching the debate, and then you're getting ready for the show this morning with the diners. But you've heard our analysis. We've all weighed in on what we thought, but it's always great to hear from the diners. I know you're going to be talking to them all morning long. I look forward to hearing what they thought because they're the voters.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.